Hi guys, welcome back to Read Aloud. We are reading Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. And when we were last here, the pirates had captured and defeated the natives up there at Tiger Lily. And so the home underground is no longer protected by the natives. But the boys don't know it. So let's see. Why does Captain Hook hate Peter so much? I mean, what did we learn about Captain Hook? He would cheat to get his way. He's all fancy and well educated, but he's a cheater. Let's see. Peter was such a small boy that one tends to wonder at the man's hatred of him. True, he had flung Hook's arm to the crocodile, but even this, and the increased insecurity of life to which it led, owing to the crocodile's pertinacity, hardly account for a vindictiveness so relentless and malignant. The truth is that there was something about Peter which goaded the pirate captain to frenzy. It was not his courage. It was not his engaging appearance. It was not, well, there's no beating about the bush, for we know quite well what it was. And I've got to tell, it was Peter's cockiness. This got on Hook's nerves, and it made his iron claw twitch, and at night it disturbed him like an insect. While Peter lived, the tortured man felt like he was a lion in a cage into which a sparrow had come. The question now was how to get down the trees, or how to get his dogs down. He ran his greedy eyes over them, searching for the thinnest ones. They wriggled uncomfortably, for they knew he would not scruple to ram them down with their poles. In the meantime, what of the boys? We've seen them at the first clang of weapons, turned, as it were, into stone figures, open-mouthed, all with outstretched arms appealing to Peter. And we returned to them with their mouths closed, and their arms fall to their sides. The pandemonium above had ceased almost as suddenly as it arose, passed like a fierce gust of wind. But they know that in passing, it determines their fate. Which side has won? The pirates, listening avidly at the mouths of the trees, heard the question put by every boy, and at last they also heard Peter's answer. "If the natives have won," he said, "they will beat the tom-tom. It is always their sign of victory." Now Smee had found the tom-tom, and was at present moment sitting on it. "You'll never hear the tom-tom again," he muttered, but inaudibly, of course, for strict silence had been enjoined. To his amazement, Hook signed to him to beat the tom-tom. And slowly there came to Smee an understanding of the dreadful wickedness of the order. Never, probably, had this simple man admired Hook so much. Twice Smee beat upon the instrument, and then stopped to listen, gleefully. "The tom-tom!" the miscreants heard Peter cry. "An Indian victory!" The doomed children answered with a cheer that was music to the black heart above, and almost immediately they repeated their goodbyes to Peter. This puzzled the pirates, but all their other feelings were swallowed up by the base delight that the enemies were about to come up the trees. They smirked at each other and rubbed their hands. Rapidly and silently, Hook gave his orders, one man to each tree, and the others to arrange themselves 2 yards apart. Chapter 13. Do you believe in fairies? The more quickly this horror is disposed of, the better. The first to emerge from his tree was Curly. He rose out of it into the arms of Checo, who flung him to Smee, who flung him to Starkey, who flung him to Bill Jukes, who flung him to Noodler, and so he was tossed from one to another till he fell at the feet of the last pirate. The boys were plucked from their trees in this ruthless manner, and several of them were in the air at a time, like bales of goods, flung from hand to hand. A different treatment was accorded Wendy, who came last. With an ironical politeness, Hook raised his hat to her, and offering her his arm, escorted her to the spot where the others were being gagged. He did it with such an air, he was so frightfully distinguished, that she was too fascinated to cry about. She was only a little girl. Perhaps it is telltale to divulge that for a moment Hook entranced her, and we tell on her only because her slip led to some strange results. Had she haughtily unhanded him, and we should have loved to have written that, she would have been hurled through the air like the others, and then Hook would probably not have been present at the time of the children. And had he not been present at the time of the children, he would not have discovered Slightly's secret. And without the secret, he could not presently have made his foul attempt on Peter's life. Here's a picture of the boys being tossed. They're pulled up and tossed to Smee. Oh, captured back there, and there's Captain Hook. They were tied to prevent their flying away, doubled up with their knees close to their ears, and for the trussing of them, the last pirate had cut a rope into 9 equal pieces. All went well until Slightly's turn came, and then he was found to be like those irritating parcels that use up all the string and going round and leave no tags with which to tie a knot. The pirates kicked him in their rage, just as you kick the parcel, though in fairness you should really kick the string. Is it either of those fault? And strange to say, it was Hook who told them to delay their violence. His lip was curled up in a malicious triumph, while his dogs were merely sweating because every time they tried to pack the unhappy lad tight in one part, he bulged out in another. Hook's mastermind had gone far beneath Slightly's surface, probably not for the effects, but for the causes. And this exultation showed that he had found them. Slightly, white to the gills, knew that Hook had surprised his secret, which was this: that no boy so blown out could use a tree wherein an average man need stick. Poor Slightly, the most wretched of all children now, for he was in a panic about Peter, bitterly regretting what he had done, madly addicted to the drinking of water when he was hot. He had swelled in consequence to his present girth. So he'd gotten bigger, bloated, and instead of reducing himself to fit his tree, he had, unknown to the others, whittled his tree to make it fit him. So what's that say about the tree? It's a lot bigger inside than Peter wanted it to be. Sufficient of this, Hook guessed to persuade him that Peter at last lay at his mercy. But no word of the dark design that now formed in the subterranean caverns of his mind crossed his lips. He merely signed that the captives were to be conveyed to the ship, and that he would be alone then. How to convey them? Hunched up in their ropes, they might indeed be rolled downhill like barrels, but most of the way through a morass. Again, Hook's genius surmounted difficulties. He indicated that the little house must be used as a conveyance. It's like a long time ago when they put them on sticks, and like a fancy person hundreds of years, thousands of years ago, like a very rich person would sit in this almost like little house, and people would have to carry them by sticks wherever they wanted to go. So he indicated that the little house must be used as a conveyance. The children were flung into it. 4 stout pirates raised it on their shoulders. The others fell in behind. And singing the hateful pirate chorus, the strange procession set off through the wood. I don't know whether any of the children were crying. If so, the singing drowned out the sound. But as the little house disappeared in the forest, a brave, though tiny, jet of smoke issued from the chimney, as if defying Hook. Like, pooh! Hook saw it, and it did Peter a bad service. It dried up any trickle of pity in him that may have remained in the pirate's infuriated breast.